Hi guys, it's Chaos Monkey and or Allie with Chaos Monkey. And I wanted to do a review on the Caron Big Cakes. Now I did buy one of them on sale at Michael's, and it was in the colorway Cherry Compote. And I hadn't tried one before. They're 100% acrylic and they have 603 yards. Supposed to be machine washable, dryable, all that good stuff. So I bought, excuse me, I bought one to try it out, and I went ahead and made a project using the entire ball. So that's why I kept this here, because I just wanted to show you that's how much I had left at the end. Oh, that looks like a weird L. There we go. This is how much I had left at the end of my poncho. Basically, I made a poncho. So I'll show you my poncho. And I'll put pictures in of what the cake looked like before I used it. Because I did take a couple pictures so you could see it in the ball. Excuse the fuzz all over this. There's cat hair on it because I've been wearing it. Okay. So I'm going to do like a close-up here. But then I will also, let me scoot my stuff out of the way, show it to you on the mannequin. So this is a pattern I just made up. And then here you can see all the way down to the bottom. Excuse the white cat hair. And this would probably be a size like a small medium, because I made it for me, and I'm pretty much a medium size. But if you wanted to use 2 cakes, you could definitely make it as big as you wanted. You would just keep doing the repeats until it was as wide as you wanted. And if I show you the back, all I did with the back was just seam it up. So I made a particular shape with my increases so that when you sew it up, you have this flat section in the back. So you would just make it as big as you needed and kind of wrap it around. And when it fit you, you'd stop doing your repeats, and then you just sew it up on the back. So you could see here's the head opening right here. And if you need a bigger head opening, of course, you would just, stop sewing where you need it. Gosh, I got fuzz and hair, and goodness gracious, I tried to shake it out first. I'm sorry, you guys, I'm fighting a cold, so I'll try to edit out some of my coughing and all of that stuff. But this is the back of the shawl, so you can see how the 2 wings kind of come together flat, and then I sewed it up the top, or up the back from bottom to top. And so when you turn it around, you just have a big poncho with these kind of wings that come out, and this is where your arms fit. So it looks better when it's on somebody. I'll put it on my mannequin. She doesn't have arms, so it's still going to look a little weird on her, but it definitely is very comfortable to wear. Now, as for the yarn, in the small medium, I got the stripes to go all the way around, so there wasn't a big jagged color. You know how the color will shift and do a jag like here? I managed to keep all those in the back. But because of the size of this, in the small medium, this is the only place that happened. So I got pretty lucky there. But if you do a bigger piece, the longer you make it, remember you might get some of these color changes maybe in the front. So, just keep that in mind if you're going to make it 2 cakes big, that each row that gets longer, you're going to have more of a chance of getting a color change somewhere else on the poncho. But if that doesn't bother you, then you're fine. I just got lucky. It doesn't really bother me because it's kind of what you have to deal with when these big color changing cake situations. They do a color change kind of abruptly. And this one wasn't too bad because it was 2 dark colors, so I don't know if you can see that, but it went from like a burgundy to a blue as it was switching from this lighter burgundy. So that really didn't jar too much. So maybe in the cakes with the colors that are similar, it won't quite jar. Maybe between these 2 if it happened, but it tends to blend in pretty well. You can see here with the dark blue and the brown. You can see the color change here, but still it blends in, so you're not seeing a huge jarring change. That might be different if you're using a really bright colored cake that has a lot of bright and dark color changes. You're going to see more of that. But with this darker cake, it ended up being pretty mellow. So this is just a pattern I made up. I'm going to show it to you on the mannequin. I also did when I came around and did my last row, I just did a single crochet around the top to kind of give it a little edge, because this is where your neck goes, and then use the rest to sew up. So after all of that, with just a few ends, like I said, this is all I had left, which is what is that, like 2 feet? Because I did want to use as much of the cake as possible. I did have a couple of knots, and there was some places where the yarn kind of split off from itself just a tiny bit. It would be like a solid piece of yarn, and then there'd just be like one little piece that would kind of just stick out. But it didn't affect the integrity, and I crocheted past it, and it blended right in, and that just happened a few times. Plus I had 2 knots in the ball, but they did knot it in the appropriate color when they restarted it, so there was no mistakes where it was like a completely off color. You can see that the color repeat continued the way it was supposed to. Now the yarn is not super soft. It is kind of, I'd say, like a medium soft for an acrylic. It's not super rough, but it's not really soft either. I did wash this, I soaked it in some wool wash, and a little bit of color came off, just the dark purples and the reds came off into the water, but very, very little, which is normal, just a little bit of excess dye, but no big. And it did soften up a tiny bit, but I also don't have a dryer, so I don't know if you put it in your dryer on low heat, that might make this yarn come out softer. And apparently you can wash and dry it in your washer, so that is probably what you want to do if you want it a little softer when you're done, because it is a tiny bit scratchy, but not bad. It had decent drape on its own. I did do a tiny bit of steam blocking to, sorry, I wore this last night, unfortunately, and I got cat hair all over it. But I did steam block it lightly just to give it a little more drape, as you can see right here. It was pretty drapey, but I just added a tiny bit more drape. Now, don't steam block anything acrylic, which is the only time you would steam block. Don't do that on wool, unless you want to kill the acrylic. I have a lot of people confused about that. So just as a public service announcement, the only time you steam block is when you want it to have a lot of drape and you never want it to be bouncy, because it's called killing the acrylic for a reason. When you steam block an acrylic, you are kind of melting it on a very small scale, and when you do that, it's going to stay that way permanently. You've killed it. It's not coming back to life. So if you have an acrylic that is a bouncy acrylic, or you are making a garment out of something that is acrylic but you want to keep that squish, do not steam block. You will ruin it. Okay, so you only steam block if you really want a lot of drape, and it's going to be permanent. So just giving you a heads up. Some people were thinking that anything you make out of acrylic you had to steam block it. You really don't. If it's an acrylic wool blend, don't steam block it. Just soak it and block it like you would normally block a wool, and the wool will block out and kind of take the acrylic with it in most cases, and you won't have to really worry about it. But acrylic really does not block. If you just soak it and pin it or lay it flat to dry, acrylic just kind of does what acrylic does, unless you want that drape, and then you would kill it and do the steam block. But I just washed this. I knew I wanted a little squish. I wanted it to be bouncy, so I just soaked it to get it clean, laid it flat to dry, and then I hung it up on my mannequin and just steamed it very lightly, just to get a tiny bit more drape. I wasn't trying to kill the acrylic, so that's what I did. And the pattern is really simple, so if you guys want me to do the pattern and write it up, just let me know in the comments. And if you want me to do a tutorial, I can do that too. I just have to get another big cake, because I only bought one. So I would have to go out and get another big cake to work with. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I'm not disappointed with it. You know what I mean? There's really no complaints for what it is. It's just, if you want it softer, maybe pop it in the dryer when you're done. And I did like making a bigger project with the bigger yardage in trying to get like a poncho situation going on, because I didn't want to break the colors up, and I didn't want to try to make 40 things out of this 600 yards. I just wanted to make one big project, so that worked out really nicely. And like I said, you could make a bigger one. You could go medium, large, extra large just by doing 2 cakes and stopping where you need it for you. You can also make it smaller if you want to make it for a child and just stop repeats where you need it for the child. Just kind of put it around her and see where it's at. And then just stop and put the border on down here at the bottom, which I would show you how to do, and then sew it up the back, which I could also show you how to do. So this would be a freebie because it's really not a difficult pattern at all. I just made it up as I went, did the increases the way I wanted them in order to get the poncho shape, threw on an easy border when I knew I was going to run out of yarn. So this would definitely just be a freebie pattern I would do for you guys in a tutorial. So just let me know if that's something you want. So I hope this comes out. My lighting is looking really weird today, so yeah, and all I did on the back was just turn it inside out and whip stitch it so that you get this nice kind of effect on the right side. I like that kind of ropey texture. And so yeah, it's a lot of fun to wear. It's really, oh, excuse my dog, he's going to start barking. It's really drapey, but it doesn't get in your way of your arms, so I like wearing it around the house because you can do stuff. Hey! Shush! You can do stuff and not have it be in the way of your arms, because it kind of stops right about here on me. So you can keep warm, tuck up underneath it, and then also pop your arms out to do stuff like around the house. So I really like the poncho concept with this. So anyway, I'm rambling, you guys, so I'm going to go ahead and go. I'll put the pictures in to show you what it looked like in the cake. I'll show you on the mannequin, which again still doesn't do justice because she doesn't have arms, so you kind of have to imagine it coming over your arms and where and how it would fit. And yeah, just let me know if you guys want the tutorial and the pattern. I can write it up pretty. I kind of had to fudge some stuff in this to get it to work, so I'm going to have to clean it up when I write it for you guys so it's more consistent. But it still shouldn't be too long. Take too long to write it up if you guys want it. Oops, just bumped the camera. And I can do, once I get the other cake, I can film a tutorial for you guys. Because it's really easy. It's just a certain amount of repeats, and that's all I have to show you. And then I would just show you the border, and then I would show you how to do the edge and seam it up. So it would probably be like maybe a 5-part video, and it'd be pretty quick. So, alright you guys, I will talk to you later. Bye.